I once accidentally ate a yam. I once accidentally ate a yam. Jason, please help me welcome Jason.
Tonight I want to get something off my chest. This is something that's bothered me for years. For decades, in fact. Still bothers me, even today on special occasions. Vegetables. Adam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, I don't have an issue with ordinary vegetables. I'm quite a fan of ordinary vegetables. No, my issue is with special occasion vegetables. Now, these are vegetables that get trotted out on Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter, but they wouldn't dare make an appearance any other time because they're simply too revolting to put up with year-round. Now, when I was a child, I could just pick out the nasty vegetables and refuse to eat them. And that worked brilliantly, right up until my mother's evil friend, Martha, gave her the idea of mashing diabolical vegetables together with innocent ones to trick me into eating them. I can still hear her shrill, evil voice. "Oh, he's just a picky eater." Oh, for heaven's sake. I am not just a picky eater. Being a picky eater is not a moral shortcoming, you know. I aspire to be a picky eater. Why? Because it lets me pick out things I don't like. Things that are disgusting. Things like turnips. Now, turnips are deplorable vegetables. And I distinctly remember the year that my dear grandmother got on the vegetable mashing bandwagon and mashed turnips in with carrots at Christmas dinner. And what upset me most of all, what still upsets me when I think about it, is my entire family thought I was so dumb that this would fool me. I mean, you know you're in trouble when your mother turns to you at Christmas dinner and says, "Try the special carrots. Grandma made them just for you." Well, I didn't see that coming. First of all, who on earth would mash a carrot if not to hide something? Secondly, does it not occur to you that after the first forkful of this appalling concoction, that anybody with half an ounce of sense would realize they've been duped? And thirdly, and perhaps most significantly of all, in case it's escaped anybody's notice, I have a gigantic nose! I mean, look at it! I can smell turnips a mile away! Hiding them in plain sight is not a good plan. And yet, in spite of all of these obvious signs, my family still thought I was dumb as a box of rocks. I've needed decades of therapy just to cope with it. And speaking of sneaky vegetables that try to insinuate their way onto your plate, masquerading as something else, let me be absolutely clear about this. Yams are not a substitute for potatoes. Not even close. And calling them sweet potatoes doesn't help. Now, needless to say, the yam made its debut in our household as a mashed dish. Big surprise there. Sort of a sickly orange mashed substance in a bowl. Sounds great, doesn't it? Kind of reminds me of turnip. Oh, it's nice, dear. It's sweet potato. No, great. Here we go again. Back into therapy. And speaking of therapy, there is nothing more traumatic to a vegetable-averse child than beets. Now, beets are insidious vegetables, and they bleed beet juice all over, infecting all the items on your plate. Have you ever tried to have beets along with mashed potatoes? It turns the potatoes pink. Now, how are you supposed to eat those? And now they taste like beets. And have you noticed that when something is highly suspicious in the taste department, people have this need to dress it up with a fancy name? Oh, my mother was famous for this. "Oh, they're candied beets, dear." No, they're not. I know candy. I'm an expert on candy. Candy tastes good. These things taste like beets. And now, so do my potatoes. Now, beets are to be avoided at all costs. Which brings me to my fourth and final nefarious vegetable, the Brussels sprout. Are you kidding? Seriously? To eat? Come on, they're awful. They're like little rolls of boiled cabbage. You can't seriously expect me to eat those. Now, in fairness, I should point out that Brussels sprouts do have an entertaining, shall we say, intestinal side effect. And throughout my childhood, every Thanksgiving dinner, I'd take any Brussels sprouts that landed on my plate, roll them in gravy, and slip them under the table to Zardy, the dog. For years, my mother could never understand why every Thanksgiving evening, our dog just happened to have an upset stomach. Believe me, there is nothing quite like a gassy Doberman to change the tone of the evening. One well-placed, Doberman-sized Brussels sprout fart, guaranteed to send the guests home early. I don't know how many Thanksgiving evenings ended with my mother wrinkling up her nose and saying, "Oh, Zardy, you didn't." "Oh, yes, he did. Oh, baby." If I could have given that dog a high five, I would have. That was considered a sort of moral victory. But to this day, and despite all of the years of vegetable therapy, whenever I think about Thanksgiving dinner, I have this overwhelming sense of dread about what ghastly vegetables lie in store. And so I beg of you, as you plan your Thanksgiving dinner this year, think of the children. Think of their mental state. Think of the family pet. And lay off the special occasion vegetables. Bad,